So, hello. Well, welcome to the third Improvecamp. It's brilliant to have so many people here and to have Kit presenting. So, just basically talking you quickly through the format we're going to do. Kit's going to do a talk, and then we're going to do Q&A afterwards. And if you want to, you can come to the stage. Only do that if you're happy for the question to be in the video. If not, put it in the Q&A, and please do look at the Q&A and vote it up. So I don't know how to introduce Kit other than to say, well, it's Kit Collingwood, isn't it? Kit, if you want to come to the stage, and we'll start getting your screen shared and stuff like that. So, Kit, I'm so, you asked me what I would like to hear you talk about, and I thought, well, it's a 15-minute chat. I think there's about 1 million topics I could ask you. So, it's so brilliant to have you here. I was actually in a spare 5 minutes today reflecting. If I'd have thought a year ago, I'd have been running an event and Kit would have been speaking, that would have been a completely alien thing to me, because we didn't even do it before COVID. So this is amazing. And I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and where you are right now, because it's all part of what you're doing. So if you want to share your screen,
I will.
And we'll get that done. And what I'll do whilst you're talking is I'm still here. If there's any problems, I'll come back on and I'll let you know there's problems. Brilliant. I'm seeing your screen. So nobody wants to see me. And I kind of need to just check that what is being chewed isn't a cable or a television. So Kit, over to you. Sorry.
Well, go Tigger. I now can't see the Q&A, unfortunately. So can somebody give me some verbal feedback? If I do this, can you now see me and these slides? Or put some feedback in the chat or something.
Yeah, we can see you, Kit. It does seem on my screen to have covered half of you with your name, which is really helpful.
That's great. That's good. That's fine by me. All right.
Sorry, I'll come back at the end, and we'll pick up the Q&A in the chat and that stuff. So don't worry about trying to be in two places at once.
Okay. You just crack on with the dog there, Andy. Hi everyone. I can't see you, which is quite disconcerting, but I hope you can see me. So Andy asked me to come and talk, and I said, what do you want me to talk about? And he said, well, he asked a few people, and I think that some people want to hear me talk about what's going on at Greenwich and the strategy that I wrote and that we've published. So I've done some slides on that. Now, next challenge is for me to progress those slides. Oh, there we go. Right, if you don't see these slides progress, please do tell me, but I'm hoping that that's all good. So, and this is me. Before today, I spent 9 years in the civil service, and then I had a brief stint in consultancy, which I was terrible at, for the record. And then for the last 13 months, I've been at Royal Borough of Greenwich, which is this beautiful panorama. I don't work in the park, unfortunately. I work in Woolwich, but let's just gloss over that. Some things to know about me. There are 2 RBGs in my life. I love them equally. One is the Royal Borough of Greenwich, and the other one is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who inspires me every day. But today I'm just talking to you about this one. So I've been with the Royal Borough of Greenwich for about just over a year, 13 months now, as I said. I lead digital data technology and customer services there. So I've got a lovely wide remit, and this is just the story of what's happened over the last year. So I'm going to get through the speaking bit of this as quickly as possible because it's not hugely interesting to me to hear my own voice. So I'll go quickly through this, and then please can you fire questions at me because that's when it gets interesting. All right, so I started in January 2020, and for the first couple of months, I spent my time noticing what's different about central government and local government, and generally meeting people and building relationships. So just a couple of reflections on that. The politics of working in local government is really different to central government. I've worked for all the three major parties in this country, but this is the first time that politicians can come and hang out on the end of your desk and see what's going on with you, demand things of you if they want to, as is their right. And I love that bit, being much closer to people who care about what happens in their local area. So that's lovely. I had a new team, well, I still do. So a lot of meeting them and figuring out how their skills fit into what I suspected would be the skills that we would need as a team from then, and much show accountability. So if you work in local government, then you'll know this, but working somewhere that is directly accountable to the people who are physically located around you is become increasingly important to me since I've been here. So one example was that somebody in this borough did some anti-Semitic graffiti last year on one of the walls around here, and it was my overnight team, I've now hours team, and they heard about this and they immediately went down to the wall with a load of tins of paint and they painted over it, and that ability to be directly accountable to the people that you serve is lovely. So I was pretty chilled at that point, all things considered. Then COVID hit, obviously. I couldn't think of the perfect gift for this, but I thought it was pretty close. And then in March, suddenly the tables were turned, and I went from, I thought that I would get a nice strategy done and then get some investment going and get a team up and running. And indeed, I have done that. But I think I was planning to be doing that a lot earlier. In March, COVID hit, and we suddenly became entirely focused on allowing 4,000 people who work for the council to remote work. So laptops were not a thing in Greenwich until a year ago. So we bought a lot of laptops, we bought a lot of smartphones and tablets and stuff. We built some new services with the digital skills that we do have, which I'll come on to in a bit. Everything from a testing service to a service to allow people to access community services when they couldn't, for example, feed their kids and other issues like that. And amongst that, we did things like building a new VPN so that people could access back office systems, and we had loads of remote onboarding of people. And I was reflecting on how to tell the story of those 3 months, except to say that it was busy. But I suppose this was the backdrop, and this won't just be for me and my team, but this will be for probably a lot of you as well. Those of us who are parents and carers who were doing homeschooling, a load of people had mental health issues. We were all sitting at home, experiencing isolation and disconnection from colleagues. And it was pretty weird for me to be so new in the job and suddenly not be able to go into the office and connect to people. So literally no chill for that period of time. And then I woke up in June, not literally. I suddenly realised in June, oh, and cheers, by the way, sorry. Suddenly realised in June that I had these noble ambitions to actually write a strategy at some point, and these 3 months of work had delayed that, but I'd learned a huge amount during that period of time. And I suddenly in June got this motivation to go back to where I was, where I'd been in March and start actually writing the thing. So I'm just going to spend a few moments telling you about how I did that, because a few people have asked. So this is a book called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. I didn't read it. So this is a preface to me saying I'm not entirely sure that I did actually write a strategy, and if I did write one, I'm not sure that it's good. But anyway, I wrote it, it's done, so that's the main thing. What I wanted was, so if anybody knows Stefan Cherniavsky, he tells me that some of the points I make here are actually contained in that book, which is great, but it's complete coincidence, but hooray. So what I wanted was a strategy that could fail. So often with strategies, they're really woolly and highfalutin and pretentious, and I just didn't want that. I wanted a strategy where if somebody read it and then we didn't do it, that they could say, oh no, you didn't do that, that's no good. in a similar vein, I wanted something that would be held to account to. So specificity, I wanted it to be specific enough that people could say, you wrote down that you were going to do that, when are you going to do that? And we could make promises that we could then deliver on. And as much as anything, I wanted it to be, so equally important to me was that it could be understood by anyone. And anybody who's read a digital strategy, they often attempt to impress with language, and I didn't want that. I wanted it to be easily comprehensible to people who weren't working in digital, for obvious reasons. You know, the majority of people in my organisation aren't working in digital, and they shouldn't be excluded from the promises of the whatever document I came up with. So here's what's in it. I was asked the other day how I came up with these work streams, and the best answer I could give was they sort of wrote themselves. And I think that any chief digital officer coming into a sort of pre-transformation organisation as Greenwich is, I think would want to do broadly these things, maybe with the exception of the sixth one. But I wanted to obviously build new digital services for residents. And because I also have customer services in my remit, they're all going to be multi-channel services. Because I like I like and want to work within the human, the necessary physical services and everything that is the good old online by default. I wanted to respect the people who work for us by giving them better technology to do their job. I wanted to make huge improvements with data. I want to make huge improvements to infrastructure. I couldn't do any of those four things without building digital capability. And then the sixth one is about how we do all of our external facing stuff to support innovation across the borough. I'm not going to linger on the what of the strategy because it's all online, you can read it. And then just the structure. So this is kind of the how I built out that strategy. I started off with a really simple vision. Don't worry about the annoyingly busy slide. Again, you can read this in the strategy. It's just there to illustrate how I went through it. So I wanted a really simple vision that was quite qualitative, and that's what I came up with. This was all done in the evenings over about a 3-week period. So, what it lacks in coherence, it makes me impassioned, I think. And the approach, I was really keen on having guiding principles in it because, again, it's about accountability, but it's a bit of a, when we get on the road and we have mission patches, these are the kind of things which are on the mission patch. So it's our values, the things we stand for. And then for every one of those 6 work streams, I had a little bit of a blurb, which looks like this. And I went straight into outcomes. So there are some scary quantitative stuff, things in there. But that's good. It's good to be scared in what we're doing. And some qualitative stuff that we can survey and get feedback on. And then after that, I just did a big list of things. So this is a subset of the list of work stream 1, but it gives you an idea. I wanted it to look a little bit like a shopping list, but for for digital people. And again, it's something where it begins to form a roadmap which we can then prioritize. So it to me was important to get straight from strategy into the when we're going to do this, and this was this kind of bridging bit. Then to realize that strategy, I needed to build a team. So I thought I'd just tell you about what the structure of this team is going to be, because again, it's kind of something that people ask me about quite often. So there's me. I've got a head of customer services, and then we're actually out for advert for these 4 roles at the moment. And those 4 roles, delivery, product, technology, and data, I'm calling them digital group because in my mental model, digital is the overarching mindset, and these are the disciplines, but your mileage may vary, but this works for me. And under delivery, I put all of our commercial work, finance work, portfolio management, all of that good stuff. I put all of our policies and guidance and business engagement, and there's culture and practice under there as well. Put all the delivery management under there and all the project management under there. Under products, there's all of the rest of the classic product skills. So all the design and research skills plus product management and business analysis. Under technology, there's software development, and that's deliberate so that when we form a product team, it will involve some of all of these teams, plus infrastructure, application support, service desk, and all of our architectural practice. And then in data, there's a load of things that say data. So to me, architecture, science, analysis, and engineering are the 4 kind of pillars of a good data practice, which I could do a whole other talk on, but we haven't got time. So I wanted those to be, data is very much the junior partner of how people think about digital. But I had some experience when I worked for the Department for Pensions on working on data. that made me realise both the importance of it and give me some really concrete ideas about good practice in data. So I'm hoping that that family of data skills will help us sort of realise those ambitions. So for what it's worth, although I haven't got time to talk about it, I think whenever we form product teams, as well as them being multidisciplinary with other parts of the organisation, you know, service experts, I think we'll have, you know, we'll have delivery management, we'll have all of those product skills, we'll have software development, and I certainly expect a sprinkling of data practice. And I also expect to form data-heavy product teams as well. So those teams will be quite blended. And then just a word on how we're going about getting a diverse pool. These are the job boards, just in case anybody wants to know about, you know, this is where we're going out to with each of these jobs. So Ada's List, which is women and non-binary people in tech. Guardian Jobs, which is middle-class people in tech. But anyway, it's good. Stonewall for LGBT interest, UK Black Tech for minority ethnic people in technology, Even Break for disability-focused job ads, and Good Jobs, which is kind of, it's not quite tech for good, you know, it's jobs in the public interest. And we've spent a lot of money on buying credits with these places in the hope that we'll be able to better represent the people we serve. We also ran our job ads through Agenda Decoder, and through Hemingway, which is a plain language. It's a bit like Textio if anybody's used that, but it's free to use, and I actually prefer the interaction of it in some ways. So I would thoroughly recommend those as a way of fighting against the bias that's normally baked into tech-related job descriptions. And then we're working in the open. So this is the blog post which I wrote to accompany the digital strategy on our new digital blog. And we'll be filling that over the coming months with loads of more stuff that we're doing. Right, that was a whistle-stop tour through the last year. Just a word on the future. So we are going to hire a lot of people. So there are currently 30 people in that digital group, and that will become 130 over the next 2 years. So we're going to be hiring 100 people into that in a sustainable way. And I mean demand-led. So apart from these heads of service who are going to lead these practices, obviously, we'll be demand-led in hiring these people in. So as they come in, we're effectively funding that team to go and do that thing. And those teams will then cycle back through the corporate centre and into different products. That's the hope. We're going to be delivering things. So we've already got a private beta of council tax service, which is going live in about a month. And we'll build out more features on that. And then we've got... I wanted to have plans that went right across the spectrum of what local government does, which is literally hundreds of services. So we're going to be working in housing and health, as well as in council tax and a whole bunch of other stuff. I am very keen on challenging, anybody who knows local government technology will know that 3 or 4 suppliers have a stranglehold over back office systems. I don't like them or their practice, and I really don't like their resident portals. So we'll be challenging that, sometimes by building our own things instead, sometimes by working with them in different ways. So that's a bit of a watch this space, but it's something I'm pretty determined to do. And we'll be sharing lots of things. So that'll be more blogging and things like sharing all of our job descriptions, which we've done. But also it will get into code sharing very, very soon. And we'll be having a lot of fun, particularly when the global pandemic diminishes, but it is genuinely already fun, and I think it's just going to get cooler from here on in. So in summary, it has been an amazing year. Local government is very cool. If you don't work here, you should. Hint, hint. If you're writing a strategy, don't overthink it. And as the other RBG would say, real change and enduring change happens one step at a time. And that is me done. So I'm going to stop sharing and take any questions.
Brilliant. That was fitting a hell of a lot of content into a lightning talk. I'm going to say kudos to you there.
Hey.
Thank you so much. Right, so chat and Q&A is rather quiet, so I'm going to go straight for, there you go, someone has their hand up. I will invite them. Hi, John. So anyone got any questions, please do raise your hand. We can bring you up to the stage. If you've got questions you don't want to raise your hand, stick them in the Q&A, and we'll also go through those. So I'm just going to also invite Will in case there's a delay, and then we shall John, if you want to fire away.
I mean, I've got like a million questions, but I'm going to keep it to one, just for now. The first thing that jumped out at me, which might seem a bit boring, but I'm still interested in the difference between product management and delivery management, because I think in your structure you've got them in two different boxes, and like in my simple mind, I kind of think, oh well, iterating a product like your CRM or whatever, well, that's all delivery management. But I know that people get quite wrapped up in, product management is its own distinct thing. So I was just curious on your thoughts on that, Kit.
Yeah, that's not a boring question at all. I kept them separate because in my experience, it is disrespectful to both parties to conflate the two. So we're using project management for anything which has a finite scope. So that examples could be hardware deployment. So roll out a new desktop estate in 5 buildings by June. That will be a project. And you have normally a fixed budget, even a pretend one. And the people who do that are very good at doing it. And they're not, well, if they're my flavour project manager, they're sort of a recovered Prince 2 practitioner, but they understand the best of what Prince 2 can offer, but they're not talking about it. But those are finite things. And delivery managers are expert in agile practice, and I would have a delivery manager to oversee any kind of software delivery, pretty much any software delivery. A software install, I'd have a project manager do it. A software delivery where we're building it ourselves or leveraging other people's stuff, I'd have a delivery manager doing it. Calling delivery managers project managers is a good way to pee off your delivery managers, and calling project managers delivery managers is a good way of hiring project managers who don't know how to do agile, in my experience. And I've seen both of those things done.
So just to thank you, just to give a little bit of pushback, because this is one of my hobby horses, is I always think of myself as a generalist, and that's how I like to play it, because I like a waterfall project when it's appropriate, and I like a bit of agile delivery when that's appropriate. So I like to think that it's possible for one human to do both, but I don't know what you think.
No, I agree. It's impossible for a human to do both, but it's just not possible in this organisational structure to apply for both jobs. So you can, I think you can be both things. I think it's rare, and in my view, the risk of conflating them is greater than the risk of separating them. But I'm not trying to be right. I just think it's what we need right now.
Thanks,
Does that make
Kit.
sense?
Yeah, it's good.
Congratulations for being able to do both. While I'm on it, Philippa, Monkey 47 is my favourite kind of gin. And Pauline, culture sits under policy and business engagement in delivery.
I'm done. Thank you, Kit. On to the next person.
Thanks, John, and thanks for being excited on Twitter.
Hi, Will.
Hello, Andy. Hello, Kit. How are you both? Well,
Good.
So yeah, potentially a very quick question for you, Kit. So I'm probably about 9-10 months behind you, joined up, although not in the same position per se, but with Northumberland Council. You'll know Chris Thompson. We're sort of trying to do a very similar thing. Have you found that there are out in the sort of the service wilderness other IT-based folk working in there, sort of like the sysadmin and support, who aren't part of your existing digital family, perhaps sort of a legacy part, sort of legacy structural thing there? And if there is such a thing, how are you engaging them? What's your sort of plan with those folk?
Yeah, I love that question. Yeah, we've got shed loads of them because, well, you'll know that with all these back office systems, they've got their own mini IT teams, haven't they? And they have sysadmins or database admins. So we've got sort of official relationships with them because we have IT reps in all of our directorates that are just like mates, and we just talk to them all the time, and they typically do those kind of jobs, and they have those kind of pseudo commercial, pseudo technical relationships with the likes of those big suppliers. Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing. I think my ambition is to offer them upskilling if they want it. So if they want to then develop their career and become more technical, I'd like to train those people in, why shouldn't they be SQL devs? Why shouldn't they learn Ruby? Like, I don't know, whatever they want. So yes, we do work really nicely with them. I think I'd just like to offer them a bit more. And to tell you the other place that I found it, which is, I think is a really big opportunity, is like performance teams and business intelligence teams working on data, but doing loads of Excel wrangling, but like properly getting it about their service. I think people up to be analysts. So it's building on their existing skill set, but showing them different technologies and giving them more of a kind of a technical grounding in how to wrangle data. So I think, yeah, there's loads of bridge work to be done, and definitely no room for snobbery and all of that. So it's 99 times out of 100, it's the attitude that makes a difference, really. And if people want to learn, they can do the job. What do you think?
Yeah, no, yeah, I'd agree with a lot of that. I think we've also found that some, like you say, it's the attitude. Some are happy to hide beneath the radar and keep their sort of database admin, sysadmin job in whatever. But equally potentially, and given the climate as well, some might feel quite isolated and not have that opportunity to develop, progress, and have that sort of chat with colleagues. So we're looking to build very much a community around it as well as the sort of the actual learning and development side of things, and have a bit of an informal surge in that area. Try that.
I think our community is going to have to get way more welcoming, probably, to encompass all of these. You know, people's skills don't neatly fall into buckets, much as org trees make them look really neat. You know, that's not you can hire for that, but but nobody is neat, and nor should they be. So our communities are probably going to have to welcome people who may not be comfortable, or the kind of purist digital people may think, oh, what's that person doing here? Well, I hope I never hire anything like that, but it could happen. And yeah, I think it's being broad gives you the greatest potential to develop people, I think.
Yeah, love it. Thank you.
Excellent. Malcolm, so Kit, if you're jumping into the Q&A, I haven't been clearing it down, so
yeah, there is one more. How welcoming are staff at Greenwich Council of digital changes? Yeah, they are. I mean, there's one. Am I allowed to swear a bit? There's always one dickhead, isn't there? There's always one. So we do have the odd one or two, but no. People understand it, and people who work in these, local government is made up of dozens and dozens of professional silos of people offering very specific services to a certain cohort of people. And they haven't got time to sit around and listen to the technicalities of why I'm so passionate about Agile or about interaction design or accessibility or whatever, but they do know what they want out of the service. So if they give me their time, then we work together very well. And that's what's happened so far. I've actually been amazed that nobody's tried to stop it yet. And with those who are not welcome with digital change, how do you win them over? Oh, I just kill them, just stamp them to the ground. How do I win them over? I'm not sure I entirely bother winning them over, if I'm really honest. Not unless they're really, it's not like the chief exec or anything. She's amazing. I normally work around them for a bit. I haven't got time to waste on people who are cynical. I haven't really got a lot of time for cynicism. So if
you've got to be a total outlier to be willing to sit at work and say, I don't believe in this digital stuff, because what else is there currently, or what else is there in a digital world than digital ways of working? It would seem a very funny stance to take.
Well, I mean, the one person I'm thinking of who is really anti just thought that I shouldn't. I mean, they took against me the second I came in, and they have woman issues anyway. And they thought that what I was doing should just be done by their mates who are consultants who they want me to bring in because they could do it. They have really real experience. So, where are you going to spend your time? There's no time for that.
I genuinely love all this stuff that you've done. That you grew the team, because it would have been really easy to deploy the old thinking of, hey, let's get a load of consultants in to do the thinking for us. Let's be honest, that's probably the easiest path. But 100 people you're taking on. Sorry, Malcolm, you've been sat there for ages. I will hand over to you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, Kit. I've got two particular questions. One is about how you went about your strategy. So I've plagiarized it with pride. for Transport for Greater Manchester, but don't tell anybody. How did you go about it? Did you just write it yourself and then share it, or did you do it in a more collaborative fashion? And then depending on what approach you did, how did people take it is my first question.
To my shame, I didn't actually collaborate with anyone, which sounds really awful, given that that's sort of what I stand for. I wrote it in, I think it took me about 3 weeks. I wrote it in the evenings. Just, it kind of fell out of my head, really. And the reason I didn't collaborate wasn't that I didn't want to, but there's a combination of the fact that there isn't a huge digital skill set in this borough. So I didn't have like a wealth of other people who'd done it before that I could lean on, whereas I had done it before. And secondly, I knew that I wanted to publish early and then get resident feedback. So I was kind of cool with going out there with something I knew which was very imperfect, because I knew that I had plans to republish it every 6 months. So, and also actually there was a third factor in there, which is that was still mid-COVID and nobody had the time. So I thought, if I want a strategy out at all, it has to be just me. Well, can I live with that? Yes, I can, because I know I'm going to make it better with people's help once it's published. So I just took a call, and I think it was the right call. But as I say, every decision has risks. And I got some amazing feedback when we did publish it, as in constructive criticism. So why haven't you said more about open data? Why haven't you said more about how you work with the community? So like, yeah, amazing. So no regrets on that front, even though on paper it was pretty bad way to go about it.
Yeah, that's useful. Thank you. My second question is, working in the local government environment up in Greater Manchester for Transport for Greater Manchester, we've got sort of funding challenges in the local government arena. How have you sort of convinced the organisation to spend loads of money to hire shitloads of people, as you put it? It's a very difficult sell, isn't it? To say, I need 100 people, it's going to cost X amount of money. And by the way, trust me, you're going to get better services at the end of it.
Yeah, that took a while. We have a really, really good chief exec, a really good leader, and a really good chief finance officer. So those things help. It was a long conviction job, and I think the main thing I did, which helped, was I'm very passionate about finance, and I'm a real nerd about it, and I was very rigorous with the costings. So the investment that we're making is expected to pay for itself over 4 years. Okay. And I built that entire investment case up before I took it to anyone. So I made that ROI picture, and I costed the team. I had a capitalization proposal for the skills in that team. I costed the technology uplift on top, and then I costed the ramp down of that as well, because you don't want like a waterfall approach where the money falls off a cliff at the end of your investment period. So I built a 4-year investment period, but the uplift is only about a third, so 2/3 of that budget will be BAU at the end of that time. And I costed it all, and then I kind of modelled a productivity gain off the back of doing it, which was 8%, an 8% productivity gain, which was, I've seen it done with a higher percentage than that. So I felt comfortable that if we did everything that we set out to do, which we could only do with those people, then we could get that. So it's all still very unproven, but I think working so hard on the facts and figures before I tried to convince anyone probably helped.
Okay, so you've assumed the number of services you're going to deliver over that 4-year period that are going to pay back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
If you want to talk, I don't want to talk about the detail of investment plans in such an open forum, but if you want to talk about them privately, I'm happy to do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Kit. Yeah, that'd be useful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Malcolm. Kit, as someone who looks at processes constantly all day, every day, 8%, yeah, I don't think you have a problem achieving that by retiring some of the Big Four's legacy systems. Philippa, I will just invite you up. Hopefully that works for you, Philippa. Brilliant. Hello.
Hello.
Hiya.
Hello. Cheers. I have a question about or more of a conversation perhaps, about where you think there is the most added value for councils to be working together around digital and technology. Councils all over the country are doing the same, trying to do a lot of the same things and offer the same sort of services, but we're all divided up by lines on a map. where is there some really fantastic value added where we could be working together?
Well, I mean, I'll share the really ridiculous radical dream first, then I'll talk about more achievable things. I think there is a possibility in the future, and I think it would cost £3 to £5 million of building an organisation with multiple product teams in whose job is to build shared public assets for consumption by local authorities, with the aim of disrupting those markets that I was just talking about, and having new services able to come online and be iterated, if not for free, then for a fraction of the cost that they currently are. And I think it would have to do, broadly speaking, 3 things. I think it would have to build stuff. I think it would need a team or teams to work out with local authorities to operationalise stuff. And I think it would have to have a support wing as well. Effectively sort of a local government GDS, but with more of an emphasis on building services and less on kind of the enabling and platform work. So I do propose to at some point approach MHCLG about that, and probably approach local authorities as well. But that's the dream, and that's the only way that we'll get out from under the bonnet of these big suppliers, because no single authority can afford it. So that's the dream. I think before we get to that point, I think there's a lot of opportunity in unexpected things like sharing salaries, job descriptions, skills, each other's apprentices, secondments. There's a load of stuff that's there in skills. And then the kind of a mini version of the dream would be to add to that design patterns, design libraries, service components like blobs of code. So there is, I think Gavin's on this call. So Digital Place begins to do that in quite a nifty way. Local Gov Drupal is doing it as well. So there are some existing initiatives. I think there's something about knitting those together and making the components easy to consume. I think there's something there as well. I mean, I could bang on about this all day, but I'll stop there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I mean, I really could bang on about this. My mind never stops if I think about that stuff. There are billions of pounds to be had by doing that.
You should have come last week, and I will connect you with someone you're probably already connected to, but Kevin Monk, who did last week, he's doing a very similar thing in the NHS with open source technology, building solutions for everyone, making it open, and possibly just about to do some really big stuff with it. So it's well worth having a look, because that model is I so believe in it. You know, local gov Drupal is just, why didn't we do that 10 years ago? You know, it was kind of, it's such a sensible thing. We're all building roughly the same kind of websites.
Yeah.
Pull together, don't pay individual people loads of money to design the same thing, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm mindful of time. I'm just checking the chat to see whether there's anything. I'm amazed Gavin didn't put his hand up the moment you name checked him. I might just, I'm just going to do it anyway.
He did. There he is. Look.
I shall invite Gav to the stage, because
I thought you might do that, Andy.
I am sure he must have something to say.
I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't want to steal anyone's thunder. You know, we're just here to support the sector. But yeah, I mean, obviously we agree with an awful lot of what Kit said, and that's why it's great to be working together and finding ways to, well, as our motto says, the public sector should never pay twice. Basically, that's the whole point of what we're trying to do. Yeah, so kind of like open standards, shared, etc. Yeah, and we hope to see it in real practice quite soon, as we begin to share things between multiple councils that are working with us. So we'll start seeing some of this actually happening.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Gav, you can't buy that sort of recommendation after what Kit said earlier about legacy suppliers, and Kit is working with you, so that must say something good about where you are at the moment, mate, which is great. Kit, we're well over time.
How do I leave?
Which is, it's okay, mate. I can kick you. Or
Please do.
I reckon he was in the middle of something dodgy. That Gavin's always got something on the side happening.
Yeah.
So massive, huge thanks. If you are, I don't know, are you able to stay around for a little bit? If you are, you know, the networking's there, feel free. If not, thank you so much. One question that I will get asked, can we get the slides and like include a link to them into, if you can edit them down if there's anything contentious, but there wasn't, I don't think there was anything contentious there.
No, I never say contentious stuff.
No, you said some contentious stuff, but nothing I wouldn't say. Well, talking about the legacy suppliers, but fair play, facts are facts.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm sure they'll be insulted all the way to the bank.
Yeah. Well, but you know, having people like you shaping the market, that's what's needed. It's long been a bugbear of mine that local governors needed to push those suppliers and shape those suppliers and, you know, make them do stuff, because you could. There is power in numbers and stuff like that. And the more people that start to say, hey, we're not going to work in that old way, so you're either going to change or, hey, you're part of history. So
that's the plan. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry. I've been terrible at organising this week, but it's been a crazy week. Luckily, that thing is sleeping now and not eating stuff.
Yeah, I'll stick around for
Thanks
a few minutes. Just kick me off the stage.